Welcome to the Builders Podcast, episode 152. Donna Dubay, Revolutionize Biz Ops, how CEOs can reclaim time and drive success. Before we jump into this episode, please subscribe to this podcast, hit that notification bell if you're on YouTube, and after a listen, please give us a thumbs up, like, and share, if we've earned it. With your help, we can reach more people and deliver these valuable from the trenches lessons to those that need it. Enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by Donna Dubay. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thanks, Matt. So happy to be here.
So, Donna is... Explain what you do. What is your title? What do you do in your life?
Yeah. So I am a certified director of operations and business growth strategist, which really means I work behind the scenes in the operations side of small businesses. And I really help the leader, mostly visionary leaders, with three things: leveraging their time, their talent, and their tactics. So if you think about a business and compare it to your house, you've got your front lawn where you might have some nice flowers or a chair set up. That's sort of your marketing. That's what people see, when they're coming into your world. I work inside the house or at the back door where you let the dog in and out, and, sometimes the dirty dishes are in the kitchen still.
Right.
And so that's the operations side. So managing the projects, managing the team, how do we look at data to make it useful for us? How do we look at finances so that we don't have to be an accountant, but we can understand simple things from our P&L? And then more importantly, what decisions can we make based on what that data and what's going on in our business to grow our business even further without sacrificing our life?
Yes, that sounds really, really nice. Yes, don't want to sacrifice our lives. I push up against that limit myself a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I think most of us do. Yeah.
That was a great introduction. I got to do that more often. So for a long time, I've been trying to I'll just have a short snippet and what somebody does, and we'll dive into your story and stuff. But man, you did a way better job than I would have done with it. Maybe I should do that more often, because you just nailed it.
Thank you.
So what, like we do on the Builders, before we dig into, I think we're going to probably talk a lot about operations today and wrangling all that, is we like to get to know you a little bit more, and listen to your journey and how you became an entrepreneur, a business person, and what that looked like, who inspired you, what inspired you to take that path, your origin story, good and bad. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to you, and you can give us the short version, long version, whatever feels
Sounds right. Good. Yes. So like many people listening, my path to entrepreneurship was not straight and narrow, but windy and twisty and long.
Yes.
And so I actually started my career as an ICU nurse. So very different world, but there are a lot of similarities. And so I really enjoyed that work. I enjoyed working with the patients, with the families, but I found that once I had my own family and the kids, that shift work was getting harder and harder to do. The nights were getting harder and harder to do as I got older. And so I was looking for a change.
Yeah,
right?
You sound like my wife. My wife's actually a nurse too, and she went through that same situation. Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard.
And so then I stayed home and we homeschooled our kids for a number of years. And then following that, as they got older, they didn't need my attention quite as much. Then I was looking to get back into the workforce, but where and how? And so that took quite a while to find my path. But I started working with online businesses in terms of project management. So I've always been one to plan and map everything out. Like if we're going on vacation, it can't be spontaneous, right? I got to know everything. The suitcase has got to be packed way in advance, just the way I am. And so project management came naturally to me. And so I started working in online businesses doing that. So helping them with a launch, or if, the leader was writing a book, okay, what are all the pieces to doing this? What's our timeline? That kind of thing.
Right.
And so while I enjoyed that work, I saw the back end of so many businesses drowning, right? The front end looked great, but the back end was a mess. We didn't have processes. Sometimes we didn't have team when we needed team. We didn't know where to start or where to go. And the business owner was working 24/7, right? On a path to burnout, no doubt. And so I really want to dive deeper and be able to help that leader figure out what can we do so that, yes, you can grow your business, but that you can step away from the weeds and the day-to-day and the fires every day, and have some peace, right? Have some time when you can actually look at the vision and where your business wants to go and how you're going to get there. Because there's so many important things that you as leader need to do, that CEO level work, that if you're stuck in the weeds, you just don't have time for.
Yeah. So we're going to circle back to that. But what was the spark though? What? Because you could have went back to another job, another career, working for somebody else. But you ended up, now you're doing what would you call it? Consulting and
yes,
that type of thing. What gravitated you to that to kind of work for yourself? Was it something that was, you just like it better? You know, like working for other people, or you just want more out of life? You know, what do you?
Yes,
what's the reason?
I think two big reasons: freedom and flexibility. Right. So I wanted the flexibility to be able to adjust my hours as I wanted to. I'm not a big traveler, but certainly many people are in the entrepreneur space. So that's an advantage. But I just want that freedom to say, oh, you know what? It's nice outside. I'm going out to have my walk or to sit and listen to the birds or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
To have that freedom that way. And then also, of course, some financial freedom, right? Because obviously nursing is good in terms of pay, but you do have a cap.
Yes. Yeah, you got a ceiling you hit eventually.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are there any challenges in there? Was it easy to make that transition and do that? Or has it been smooth sailing?
No. I don't think it's smooth sailing for any of us, really. I think I would have to say being an entrepreneur is the hardest thing I've done thus far, for sure. You know, there's high highs, but there's also low lows, right? And in the online space, it can be a very lonely world if you don't have, you know, some mentorship, some people on your side, some business besties who understand what you're going through, right? I love my family to bits, but they're not entrepreneurs and they don't see everything the way I do, right? And so definitely rewarding, but challenging at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. I think it resonates probably with a lot of people listening to this. I mean, sometimes I talk to my wife and she has no idea what I do. She just has no concept. She just, knows that I sit in front of a computer. That's it.
Yes. And you build stuff.
I can't really, and I build stuff. But I, she understands the financial end of it, obviously, because that's what impacts her. But she's been with me with the ups and downs as well. So, so there's been good times and bad times where she's like, can't you just get a real job? But that's in the loneliness aspect of it, I think, that's something that I think, because especially if you don't have people in your immediate life, and I don't really either. I know one or two people that are in business offline. But surround yourself, even online communities, just networking and getting to know people and stuff. I think that helps a lot. Jumping on calls and, do you belong to like online communities? How have you met people to interact
definitely
with
online because when I started my business was before COVID, but then of course COVID hit. So it's really been online. But I think too, a big part of it, Matt, is just having that mindset that whatever problem comes up is solvable, right? I may not know what the solution is, but somebody does. Yeah, because what I'm going through is not brand new, right? It's happened to somebody else somewhere. Yeah, it might look a little bit different, or, the solution I choose might be different. But these are not, rocket science things that have never happened in the face of entrepreneurship before, right?
No, right. Yeah.
And so,
what you're going through isn't unique.
Yes.
Most likely.
Yes. Right. It feels like it at the time. Yeah. But, if we can have that mindset that there is a solution, this is solvable, I just have to tap into my network, be willing to share, be willing to be vulnerable to some degree, and get that help that I need.
Yeah, that's what's beautiful. And you're going to be there for somebody else when you need something as well. And I think that's super important, because I know I've got a lot of friends online. I've been around for a while. And I know there's specific people that if I had a real struggle in some area, I know the person I'd probably go to talk about that. So I think that's, it's good. And that's why we all need to support each other as entrepreneurs, business owners. For sure. And one of the things I think, kind of a theme of this, based on what you kind of started with, is I think there's this kind of like people talk about Instagram and stuff. Everyone's got this perfect story, this perfect, the perfect images of their life. But you don't actually realize that many of us are dealing with something, it's not all roses. It's not all, I was just listening to a video or something. Someone was talking about that too. And they're just like, you go on this, you see somebody, they post all these pictures. They went to Hawaii or something. And they have like 50 pictures on social media. They went to Hawaii and it's beautiful stuff. But then you don't see that they were like waiting at the train station for 5 hours and this happened. Somebody had stomach flu and we were in the motel for like a day. Like all that stuff. You never see that on social media. We all have issues, and it's the same with business. And but of course we have to put on a brave face and we have to show up and we have to be positive, and we have especially when we're front facing with partners and customers and stuff like that. But but there's a lot of stuff on the back end that could be a mess, and that's where you come in. What do you think? So like on the back end of things, okay, somebody's got their marketing message out there and they got a good brand and they look good, but you look under the hood, like what are some of the common things that people are, what is messy back there in a lot of cases?
Yes, for sure. So I think a lot of times it starts with the leader having a clear vision of where they want the company to go. And I know some people listening might say, oh, this is just fluff. That's not what's really mattering today, right? But when you take a step back and do that bird's eye view of your business, it's so, so important, because you need to know this is where I'm at and this is where I need to go. And then what things, what tasks, what projects, what offers, what services, what team align with where I want to go, right?
Okay.
And there's so much noise in this online world. Again, when we're speaking with our friends and our business, mentors, we're going to get so much things that we should be doing. Add this, do that, right? And they're fun things to try sometimes. But if they don't align with what our vision is, then I argue they have to go in the idea parking lot, because you can't do everything all at once. Right?
So true.
So having that clear vision of where you want to go, and then what projects and team and services align with that, and let's stay in that zone.
That makes sense. Yeah. There's, especially online, there's a lot of things to distract us, and shiny objects to go after. And I've heard that before.
Yes.
I think about my agency, how I defined it, like I have a very clear vision of what we do. We don't go outside of that box. Like we could do a lot of, like we do web design development. We could do a lot of other stuff. We could add in SEO. We could add in some marketing service. Where else can we make money?
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're just spread out. You're a jack of all trades. But if you can specialize, that helps. And it helps with the vision and where you're going too. You think about, that's huge. And I suppose that, and then the type of team, because who are you going to hire next? Right. That all depends on what you want to build, right? Where you're headed. Yeah.
And then I think the important things with this vision is that it needs to be front and center. So it sounds like, Matt, you have that. But for many of us, we might write the vision, in December or January, at the beginning of the year. and then we tuck it away back in some document in Google Drive, and we don't look at it again, right? Yeah. We're not actually having it front and center and then comparing those shiny objects to our vision and saying, does this align? Is this something that, yes, we want to move forward with? And then look at our capacity, look at our risk, look at all those things before we decide, yes, this is what I'm doing next.
Because you don't want something to take you away from your vision, and you have to remind yourself. Yes. So it's something you it's kind of like a live document. You're gonna also probably, I would imagine the vision's going to kind of adjust and change over time as well.
Of course, yes, it's a living document, right? And it evolves because our online landscape is evolving as well, right? Now we have AI coming in. That's changing sometimes people's services or how they deliver things, and it's going to keep changing. And so, yes, your vision is going to evolve with time, but keeping it front and center. And then from there, focusing on what are my 12-month goals, and then breaking it down even further to what are my 90-day goals in line with that vision.
Yeah.
Right? And why we break it down is because it's so much easier to take a bite of the sandwich than to swallow it whole.
Yeah, probably would be.
Right? I know, it sounds strange, but... Yes, right? But that's what we're doing when we take a 12-month goal. We're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to reach this revenue. But then we've got no strategy underneath it as to, how we're going to do that. How much are we going to sell of what at what times?
Right.
So, or even if it's not even a revenue goal, maybe it's, I want to increase, the number of people, the number of leads coming into my business. Okay, well, how much do we have to increase that in 90 days? And then how much in a month? And what things are we going to do to reach those targets, right? So I like to have the goals be measurable so that there's a number to it. We know exactly what we're going for. But then we're also tracking that. So in those 90 days, we're tracking. Our goal was to increase our website traffic by 20%. That would be this number. Where are we at 1 month, 2 months, and 3 months? The reason for this is that because we need to be able to tweak and adjust and optimize based on what's happening. And if we don't look at what's happening, we don't know.
So how do you have set a reminder? Like just have somebody on your team like, can you remind me every 30 days that I need to look at this?
Right. So again, depending on your type of business, you certainly can. So I have a document 90-day planner that I use called CEO Pulse Check. And in there, tracking our 4 most important metrics is right in there. So that can be done on a weekly basis. The 90-day goal is written in there as well. So it's clear what the goal is and we're tracking. You as CEO certainly don't have to do the actual finding of those numbers, right? You can assign that to a team member. Put it as a recurring task in your project management tool. Boom, every month or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, they go into your email service provider and find out how many new leads you got, if that's one of the metrics that you're tracking, right?
Yeah.
Revenue, you should be getting that clearly from your bookkeeper in terms of P&L. That should be coming to you monthly so you know where you're at with that as well. So it doesn't have to take you, the business owner, a half an hour session to go digging up numbers everywhere.
Right. That's really good. And that's part of building the right team that can, surround yourself and delegating that to somebody else to handle. I do, I have, just as a micro example, we have sort of an initiative to do more SEO. I mean, we're actually, most of our business comes from networking and social media and our content and podcast stuff. But I always want to look at that, diversify, and we're doing some cold outreach and stuff, but SEO is one of those things. It's just one of those things that like we do something. Mm-hmm. And this year I implemented, I got somebody kind of working on that and helping optimize content. We're hopefully doing more link building and all that.
Yeah.
But the simplest thing of getting, like for me, there's, especially with analytics, there's a lot of metrics or a lot of things to look at, right? If you go just log into Google Analytics, you'll see a lot of stuff.
Yes.
And for everything in your business, though, whether it's accounting or whatever, there's only a few things that really matter, or you can see the needle move, or that you can make a decision around. And so I have her doing a weekly, but then like a monthly recap of that, of that aspect of things. And she does, puts it in a spreadsheet, makes it nice. And, this is, where we're at with the numbers. I don't worry about it the rest of the month. And I'll just, that one time a month, I take a look at that, and I'm going to, see where we're going. Do I have to make a decision here? And, that's really important. And that's where team comes in.
Yes.
Because like you said, otherwise you're doing all that, and you're probably not going to.
Exactly. And along with that is you're paying your team members to do certain things for you, right? To implement certain strategies that you want to have in your business. You want to know on the back end, is that bringing me a return on investment?
Right.
Right? Because it could be that your team member is doing a great job, but that strategy isn't working with your audience.
Yeah, SEO is one of the worst ones, because it takes it's like long term. So
slow, yes.
You don't get real quick results. And I know people that just don't even bother. And I kind of don't even bother. But I really have this thing, like we're gonna get some traffic organically. I mean, I think it's a good, even if it's 1%, we can do it.
Yes.
But yes, so that's, and you've probably, a lot of businesses haven't gotten there, eh? There's a lot of CEOs out there that don't have, or don't think about this. And like I said, looking under the hood, you think people got their stuff together. Yeah. And maybe might even be doing decent, but they could be doing a lot better.
They could be doing
probably have a lot less stress.
Yes.
And that's the other thing you said, like time too. I mean, you have to have a life, right?
So important, right? Because if you put your business first and your family and your other obligations come, when there's time in the calendar, we all know that's not going to happen, right? And then your family are starting to wonder, Mom, Dad, are you around? Wife, husband, whatever partner you have is, we used to do things together. We're not anymore, right? And this is just leading to burnout. It's not leading to a good path. So I always work with my clients to say, when we're setting up your calendar, want to have family and life obligations come in first. We block that time off in your calendar first. Then we put in hours when your business is open, right? So for many of us, we're online business. What do you mean hours when I'm open? Well, those are the hours when it's clear you're going to be at your laptop. Your team and your clients know if they reach out, they'll hear from you during that time, right? Yeah. But when family things are in there first, now you're not missing them. It's an important time in your calendar, just like everything else. So if you have, a morning routine, if you like to work out, or you like to drop kids off at school, or have a date night with your spouse, whatever that looks like, go for your monthly massage, whatever it is, make sure it's in that calendar, right? Because you need to take care of yourself to be able to care for others.
Oh, you really do. Because it's easy, especially if you're passionate about what you do and you really want to succeed, and maybe the financial side of things is you're struggling, and you think, I just got to put in the hours, but that leads to burnout for sure. And like one of the things I think is interesting too, and actually I think this is really fascinating. I talked to what was his name this past year? Yes. He was like the millionaire. He called himself the millionaire something. Okay. I'm gonna have to look it up. But anyway, so he one of the things he said, and he's obviously done well because he's calling himself some millionaire guy. Yeah. He said he only works like 4 hours a day or something. And now I mean, obviously he probably, I think I even asked him, do you work, in the early days, you must have worked way harder, right? Yes. You had to earn that, right? Yes. But one of the things that he said though, is when you, and other people have talked to, like when you have set yourself a smaller time frame, in that time frame, and that you got to do all your work in this time frame, you're going to be much more focused and focused on the things that are most important, because it sort of forces you to, organize yourself better, right? Is that your experience?
100%. Yes, 100%. Because naturally, we're going to take the time, whatever project or task we're working on, we're going to allow it to fill the space that we have naturally, right?
Yeah.
And so, yes, we've got a mile to long to-do list, but we need to be strategic about how we go through the things that are on there, right? So I like to brain dump, take everything in your to-do list, put it down on a piece of paper, Google Doc, whatever it is. No editing, just get it out there. And then use the Eisenhower matrix. So it's got 4 quadrants to decide which quadrant those tasks are going to go in. And the criteria is whether it's important, meaning whether it's revenue generating, and whether it's urgent, meaning there's a deadline, within the next week or 2, and we need to make sure we meet it. Otherwise, there's a negative consequence. So as an example, paying your taxes. None of us really like to do it, but it's a deadline and we want to make sure we meet that, right? And so then we take each of those tasks and decide which of those 4 quadrants it's going to go in. Important and urgent, not important, not urgent, like that. And what we'll find is that what's in important and not urgent is really where we as visionary leaders should be spending our time. Those are the growth level tasks connected to revenue generating activities, right? So things like partnerships, things like networking, collaborations, getting in front of other people's audiences, sales calls, if that's something you do in your business, content in terms of webinars or masterclasses that you're providing value, right? Those are things that you as leader need to do. You can't be delegating that to somebody else, but it's also those higher level CEO tasks. And then we want to make sure we have time every single week in our calendar to do those things. And yes, actually go in your calendar and block it off.
Use your calendar, for sure. Yeah, I think, and that's where building a team around you, obviously. His name is Edwin Carrion, by the way. The God-made millionaire. That's how he called himself. God-made millionaire. But there's a whole story behind that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so... and it's like, I even think, and I think it's hard. It's like even hard for me, right? Like, so I'm a nerd and I like to do coding sometimes. I like to design. I like to do the stuff.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's why they stay there. They stay a freelancer or whatever, because they like the craft. They like to do what they do. So it's really hard sometimes for us to separate ourselves from that and become the leader and do the things that are actually important, is going to help your business grow. Because, do you see people struggling with that? Or you got any stories around that?
Yes, 100%. And I think what happens there, and again, what I like to encourage my clients to do is find that balance, right? Mm-hmm. So if you still really like your craft, whatever that is, good. Let's put some time in your week so you can do that, right? But in your ideal calendar, you also need to have time for those CEO level tasks, because nobody else in your business is going to do that.
Right.
You can have other people help with the craft, but you can't have other people be the leader. Mm-hmm. Right? So it's finding that balance, right? And it's, it's a bit of trial and error, because how many hours a week do I need for those things? But as we work through that, as we work together, we find that balance where it's like, okay, I can spend Tuesday afternoon on my craft, right? I feel joy, I feel fulfilled because I got some time in that. But then I also have, Wednesday morning or Friday afternoon or whatever that is for my CEO level tasks.
Yeah. Yeah. And that could be, depending on the size of business, different amount of time each week.
Yes.
But you have to find that time you're focused on those things for sure.
Yeah. So there's a little trick I use called the CEO score to help business leaders figure out how much time do I need to be spending each week on those CEO level tasks. Okay. And really what it is it's a dollar amount, but it's not actual dollars that we exchange. It's really about your time and energy. And so you take the annual revenue that you want for the year, divide it by the number of weeks that you want to work in the year. And so that gives you your CEO score. And then each of the growth level tasks are going to have a dollar amount associated with them. So for example, if you did a JV partnership, maybe that's worth 10,000, right? If you did, getting in front of other people's audiences and you spoke for 45 minutes or an hour, then that would have a certain dollar amount. And so at the end of the week, you can look at the big tasks. I'm not talking about the little emails and the little things you do, but the big tasks that you did, give them a dollar amount and compare that to what your CEO score should be. The higher amount of revenue you want, the higher your CEO score.
Interesting. I like that.
So it's not, it's a bit of an art. It's not 100% guaranteed, right? But it gives you some sort of measuring, some sort of accountability to know, okay, am I doing enough of this for where I want to go, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if we think about big businesses where, it's a true CEO, they have a board of directors and VPs, that's where they're spending their time. All their time is in CEO level tasks, right?
Right.
But certainly they have a very different revenue goal than we do as small businesses.
Yeah. Like I said, you got to find your sweet spot and what makes sense for you. And I think, and it is something, it's like, again, for me, like I like my craft. I'm able to go in and it's fun when I'm able to go in and troubleshoot something or do whatever, and actually, I think it helps you to talk about burnout. And I think it's doing, having those time frames to do the CEO level stuff and, your leadership stuff. But then having time to do things that are different. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like, if I do the management stuff, but then I have a little time to do this other, whatever the craft is. But then I also have time to do a podcast. And I kind of enjoy doing a podcast, Yes. It's different. I'm doing a lot of stuff, but it's all different things and it works different parts of my brain and my body. Mm-hmm. And and so I feel like I don't get burned out. Some days, once in a while I have a day, and then I just listen to my body and be like, okay, I just need to take some time.
Yeah.
And do you find variety too in what somebody does? They're like, for example, you could be a coder and all you do 12 hours a day is code. I feel like that person's going to burn out more than somebody that's working 12 hours a day, but they're doing a lot of different things.
Yes, I think variety is so important. I remember working with a client. She was doing well, but wanted to get, to the next level. And so when we dug into her offers, they seemed to be priced properly. They were, selling reasonably well. So her energy was, I want to get another offer. I want to, try something else. And really, when you look down at it, it's like, if you keep your business brilliantly boring, as a mentor once said to me, that gets us out of always trying to reinvent and always trying to add something new when what we have is working, right? So the question there becomes, okay, where do I put this energy that I have then? If I'm not creating a new offer, where do I put it? And so doing something different in your business, like Matt was just talking about, is one thing. Another way to look at that is to have a passion project. So something outside of your business, but something that you enjoy doing, right? That you can put a few hours to and you feel relieved, you let go of some stress, you use a different side of your brain or your body, and just have your energy go towards something else is really helpful as well. And so when she looked at, okay, what do I enjoy doing? Well, for her, it was actually dancing. She had really danced quite a lot in her earlier years. And then as her business grew, she got out of doing that. So she wanted to get back into it. And it just lit her up. Wednesday night is my, salsa dance class.
Yeah.
Right. And so just having something outside of her business really helped her. For others, I know sometimes they want to start a charity or work in the community or volunteer, right? Whatever that looks like for you, but just having that passion project that's different from your business.
That's fantastic insight. I got thinking of a friend of mine, actually, Dolan White. He's been on the podcast a few times. Known him for years. I was his first report for, he was the CEO of a company I worked for years ago.
Yeah.
But I got to know him really well. And, but one of the things, that strikes me with him, now he's been, I can talk him up all day long. He's an amazing guy. He worked for Fortune 500 companies in software and sales and just, and just did a lot in his career. And he's continuing to. But one of the things with him, you wouldn't know, like talking to him in a boardroom or a business or whatever, is he does music. He's been like making music for like 30 plus years, writing music. He writes songs, and he's got a buddy that he's been doing this with for like all those years. And so they go to the studio at least once a week, I know, and they're like releasing music on like, Spotify or whatever. And they're not, obviously, I don't know, maybe one of these days you'll become wildly famous for what he does, but that's like his passion project.
Yeah.
And gotta imagine that helps him get through the week, because he's doing all these hard things. He's doing deals or whatever he's doing. But he, at the back of his mind, is like, tonight I get to get together and make some music with my friend.
Jam, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And that's really good advice. Really, really good advice. So vision. And then we talk about, what was the next thing we talked about? We talked about vision. We talked about
goals, making them measurable.
Goals. Yes. And so is there anything else that stands out that people struggle with?
We could go on
that?
All day.
I know. Let's pick one or two more. I could talk to you all day. We do have a limit.
I know. People
3 hours
will drop
later,
off and stop listening, right?
Yeah. No,
yes,
it's like
I think the next piece is definitely team. So whether we have one or we don't have one, something to think about. So for those who, don't have a team yet, but think they should or could or might, want to encourage you that it doesn't have to be a full-time employee. You can hire a contractor for 5 hours a week, to take social media posting off your plate, or to do some back end on invoicing, or, customer service for clients, whatever that looks like, but it doesn't have to be a full-time employee to start with. And so really, again, being clear on your vision, where you want to go, and then what things could I delegate, right? What things am I currently doing on repeat that's not in my zone of genius, meaning it's not CEO level work? What can I delegate to someone else? And then what would that look like? Making a job description and actually being clear on what you're looking for. Unfortunately, in this online world, there's not a set standard. So if you're going to hire your next team member, they didn't come out of such and such a college ready to go, right? I can hang up my sign today and say I'm a web developer. I'm not, but I could, right? And so we do have to do some screening and some vetting. And so having a clear job description on what you're looking for and what your values are as a company is really, really important when you are hiring. If you already have a team, it's important to be looking at, do I have the right people in the right seats? Yeah? Because I could have the right team members, but I might not be tapping into their zone of genius, what they're best at doing, right? There could be areas where I could have them helping more, but I don't even know it. And so this takes some time. It takes some sitting down one-on-one with your team members to find out, what do they like to do? Where do they see an area where they could grow or contribute more? And are they feeling satisfied and fulfilled in the current role that they're in? Because many times, and Matt, you can probably attest to this, we bring someone in, the role evolves and changes over time because we need them to do this and do that. And it's not even really clear yet what they're there for and what they would like to be doing. So taking that time to say, do I have the right people in the right seats? So important.
Yeah, it's similar. It's similar to, other things like the live documents, like it's not something that you just do and then forget about. You don't just hire somebody. Like, and I think that's, as I've developed my team, I hire somebody for one thing, one specific thing. There's probably a problem I'm solving or something I need to delegate, or I don't need to be doing that anymore or whatever. And so you hire somebody based on the interview and however you tested them maybe, and they seem like they're going to be a good fit for that, and you slide them in. And like you said, businesses are always, especially if you're a startup, or you're early stages, whatever. Things are going to change, and that item that they're working on may dissolve completely or change in itself. But also always checking in with people and with your team and watching how they work and maybe testing them out. Or maybe they helped you with something else. Like, they did a really good job with that. Mm-hmm. And I'm always looking at that with even my VAs, like, I hired a VA that I had kind of like my business. I had a vision for what she would be doing, right? And her job description is very different. And there was part of it, but it became the whole. Mm-hmm. Like, I realized she's really good at this. She's enjoying it. And I'm enjoying her doing it. She's doing amazing. It's somebody that helps me with my content and stuff. And she helped me on the marketing side. She's like, for the last 3 years. She'll help with this podcast, help me distribute it, and create clips. And but in the beginning, that's not what was defined. Mm-hmm. She was going to be more of a generalist to help me with admin stuff and whatever, and she still does a little bit. But yeah, it's something that was fluid, and it's been the same with some of my developers. I hired them for a specific project. They ended up, they're not doing that anymore. They're doing something else. So I imagine that's something. Have you run into that or examples where people have done that?
Yes, 100%. 100%. Yeah. So I remember working with a business. They had an agency. It was about podcasting, so helping people start and grow their podcasts. And so we had a team member there who, again, same kind of thing, had come in for admin work. But over time, was more in account manager role. But the job description and definitely the pay hadn't evolved with it, right? Yes. And so just encouraging the leader to, have that time, have that open communication with a team member, whether it's on a quarterly basis or twice a year, whatever that is, but have that one-on-one time when you can ask for feedback, you can give them feedback, and then also explore, where are we going? And if that job description needs some revamping, ask them to revamp it. It doesn't have to be you as leader revamping it. Say, okay, this is a job description we started with a year ago or 3 years ago, if that's the time frame. Can you go and adjust this based on what you're doing now? And let's, and they can give it back to you and you can review it. But having them involved in the process is so important. I don't necessarily believe in a top-down leadership style. And so I believe that, involving our team in the process is really important.
Yeah, you got to just see your team as people, and you got to make sure that they feel good about what they're doing. They're happy. I'm always checking and making sure. Are you enjoying what you're doing still? Mm-hmm. I've asked that question. This is great. So what type of businesses do you work with, or like? What do you like? What do you enjoy doing?
Yes.
What do you like to?
Here we go, huh? Yes. So I work specifically with online businesses, mostly in the service industry rather than products. And I work with usually visionary leaders. So they're, high quick starts. They've got a lot of good ideas, but figuring out what to prioritize and what to focus on is where they struggle a little bit. They usually have some team. It could be all contractors, but they have some team. And of course, they're looking to grow to the next level, whatever that revenue goal is for them. And so many, when they come to me, are almost to the point of burnout. So they are working way more than they want to be. They know they need to make a change, but they don't know where to start. And each day, turn on the laptop and they're in their emails right at the beginning, one problem after another, right? And so just helping them go step by step to, one, change their mindset, for them to actually believe that they're the leader and the CEO, and that because of that, there's certain things they need to do on a daily and weekly basis. And then working with, okay, where are we now? Where do you want to go? And what's most important to prioritize? And then do we have a process? Do we have a team? Do we have a rinse and repeat system so that, this can run smoothly in your business, right? Just give podcasting as an example. Like Matt said, he's obviously here as the voice of his podcast, but he's not going to go edit it and make the social media clips and do all of that. He has a team member to help with those pieces. But that's clearly documented. Everybody on the team knows when the episodes are recorded, where they find them, what they need to do with them, and when they need to put out, the release and let people know that this episode is live, right? And so having clearly defined boundaries in terms of what you as CEO need to do for this project and what your team needs to do, and make sure that everyone's clear, makes it so much easier as you move forward.
I still do the editing on Sunday mornings.
Oh, do you? Okay. Yeah.
I spend about an hour and a half, do the editing, and then it goes off to the VAs.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really, really good advice. Really, really solid, good advice. I definitely am going to keep you in my Rolodex in case I don't have an actual Rolodex, but a virtual one.
It's okay. Yes.
Up here. if I run into, because I'm sure I'm going to run into somebody eventually that's going to need somebody that can help them, like, in all the areas you're talking about. If somebody wants to, reach out to you or find you on the World Wide Web, or do you have a website? Where do you hang out? Do you hang out on LinkedIn? Where do you hang out?
Yeah, for sure. So my website is ceoamplify.ca. I'm in Canada. So they can find me there. There's a few free resources if you'd like to download some of those. One of them in particular is the Get Paid Like a CEO calculator. So it just helps you figure out, what do I need to bring home to meet my monthly expenses? And therefore, how much revenue do I need to make to be able to make sure I'm paying myself? Because so many of us are just taking what's left over at the end. Not the way we want to be. And then, yes, I'm on LinkedIn at Donna Dubay, and also Facebook.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, Donna. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Till next time.
Enjoyed it.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed that. Again, please subscribe if you haven't already, and give us a thumbs up if we deserve it. If you want to comment on this episode's page, provide me with requests on topics for future episodes, or inquire about being a guest, please find your way to thebuilders.fm. You can contact me there or add a comment under these show notes. Now a word from our sponsor, my agency, Unified Web Design. We build custom websites, features, we maintain websites, we work with agencies to fulfill their web design and development needs, and more. If you are interested in our services or are looking for an agency to work with as a partner to build awesome sites for your clients, feel free to reach out to me at unifiedwebdesign.com. There's a handy contact me link at the top. Fill out that form and it will open a ticket, and that ticket will find its way to me. Thanks for joining me today. We'll see you next time.